have with me in the studio a public affairs analyst and chartered accountant, Sheson Kwade, and public affairs analyst, Razak Olokoba. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning, viewers at home.
Good morning. So let's look at the newspapers this morning. We have the News Direct, which is saying here, road crash, 28 persons burns to death in Bauchi, says FRSC. The blueprint says no bad blood between Buhari Oshimbajo, says Southwest APC. And looking at the Daily Times here, it says Shore, Senate probes court invasion as body of benches seeks independent probe. NBA decries persistent disobedience of court orders, says trend could lead to anarchy if unchecked. So we'll stick with that story this morning. Senate probes court invasion. So Senator Bamdele Okoyemi was talking about it. You know, he's a lawyer. He was not happy at the invasion of the courts, despite the fact that allegedly the DSS wanted to rearrest Shore. What do you think about the whole thing?
I don't think the armless protest that Shore embarked on is the reason behind this rigorous and so long.
So what do you think is the reason?
To deny him his freedom. I think there are more things to it. Because of the integrity of DSS and the image of Nigeria, there's a need for the DSS to declassify certain things that we hear as a rumor that is going about. Because going by what Shore planned to do, it's a rally. I've led several rallies from 1999 to date. I've led several rallies. In less than a month ago, I led a rally. So, and the arm the rally will have done is the same rally his own rally will have done too, okay. which is no arm, expression of our agitation and demands. So there are more to it, and it is, if you look at what led to how the courts were invaded, what impression many Nigerians will have is that this is beyond the reality. There are more to it, and that's what we kept advising the security agent in this country. That is that they should borrow from what is happening all over the world. So that it's not all the time that we keep condemning our security agents. If you can go to that extent to do such a thing, there must be a reason why we have done that. There must be a reason why you go into a court. There are various versions of the story. They said, the DSS said that it's not within the court. Within the court. Yeah. It's a court. It's outside the court premises. The supporters of our comrade is saying that it's inside his compromise. So whatever is the case, Nigerians must be carried along. You are doing what you think you are doing in the interest of the Nigerian people. And if that is the case, there's a need to offer us explanation. I pay tax that pays your salary. So I demand explanation to why such a thing should happen.
Okay, so some body of benchers are seeking independent probe on this matter.
Yeah, you see, everybody condemned the act that actually happened, and just like Razak said, I think it's beyond what we are seeing on the surface.
Okay.
That it's about protests, requesting for revolution.
It's beyond all of that.
It's beyond it, because if he was granted bail and just under 24 hours, you are planning a rearrest. The only thing we've seen as a challenge in this country is we cover everything up in secrecy. There are too much of, and that's why on the path of corruption we cannot even grow. There are a lot of secrets that we keep under the table. You see, DSS may be fighting a justifiable cause, but because it's not known to anybody, you are just flouting. You know, there are a series of cases of court releasing people.
It's not known to everybody. What do you mean?
No, somebody was released 24 hours and you plan to rearrest him. Now he's under their custody.
Yes.
But up to now, we've not had any allegation of this is the reason why we are rearresting him. If it's on the premise of the first instance of arrest, then we should know, because court has actually granted that he should be released on bail, and you did not object. You released him, but under 24 hours. So we need, despite we know that security things are not things that you discuss so much about, because you have to keep those things, but you should give the citizen, so that everybody will know, okay, this is the reason, and they can challenge it, rather than just keeping him under your, because on the international platform, people are now viewing us that we are not under democratic setting. It's more of anarchy. It's more of military dictatorship, where you just say this is what we want, and if you are against it, we'll get you over. And it's like they are shutting. In our constitution, we have freedom of speech. If somebody is saying anything that is not right, the court of law is there to challenge. If the person has gone maybe to the defamatory of character, you take him to court of law and let Lord take justice of
now we have seen a situation whereby there have been several disobedience of court orders by this administration here. Looking at this whole scenario now, where does this place us? How is our judiciary being seen at this point?
We have to spread the blame. The executive should be blamed. Our courts, our judges should also be blamed.
Okay.
There are cases in courts that should last 6 months, and it's been hanging in court for 15 years, 20 years. So, if you play your card very well, executive will not do that. Judiciary, the judges, the body of benchers, and including the lawyers, the MBA, should put their act together. They should be seen to be doing the right thing. Prompt judgment should be given. Delays of pronouncement of court processes and their activity is the reason why what inspire other arm of government to also do so. The parliament, the executive. But the executive, they are repairing our road, paying salaries, executing policies and all sorts of things. What the third arm and the court is meant for is to mete out a punishment to earning citizens of Nigeria. So if someone is in court and he's been there for 15 years, corrupt cases, there are cases of corruption that has not been sent to, that has not been put to a conclusion. So this is a situation where all of us must call ourselves together. Not only people who are involved in legal matters, even ordinary individuals like me that goes to court, we keep encouraging our lawyer to bring all sorts of, that's not patriotism, and that's not how to respect the judiciary and the legal institutions of this country. Okay. So it's about all of us.
All right, quickly now, what's the role of the legislature in this?
Yeah, well, they have to act so that it will not be seen as if they didn't know what is happening. So they must actually probe into it, because everybody is asking the question, why is this happening? Just like what we are saying, why are you rearresting? Why are you invading the court? So on the part of the legislator, you know, they are like carrying out an oversight function on the executive. So we need an explanation on why this is happening. And they are within the coffers of what they are supposed to do as the legislative and to investigate what has happened. Maybe via their investigation, we might be able to have one or two things that will calm the nerves of we Nigerians of why we are continuously going against the court injunction at any point in time.
Through what's trending now in the Nigerian newspapers at this time, I have with me to do justice to this subject, public affairs analyst and chartered accountant, Sheson Okwade. Thank you very much. I always like to call you SS. Thank
Morning,
you so much for joining us again on TVC Breakfast. And we have a very familiar face, Razak Olukoba, a public affairs analyst. Thank God it's Friday.
Thank you. Good morning.
Indeed. Let me
and
second.
Good morning, viewers at home.
Yes, yes. Thank you for joining us again. Let me second what David just said. So you also look dressed for the part. And Sheson is also always, you know, trying to dress casual on Friday. Thank you both, gentlemen. All right, let's go straight into the papers. I'm beginning with News Direct. News Direct is leading with a rather sad one now on road crash. It's the Ember period. FRSC is recording 28 persons burnt to death in Bauchi. A really sad way to open this segment. Well, we pray that the souls of the departed rest in peace. For Blueprints now, there is a report, the lead story being no bad blood between Buhari or Shibajo. That's according to Southwest APC. Daily Times is next. It's leading with Showore, a latest twist now to the saga involving the Revolution Now activists. Senate probes court invasion that occurred last week as body of benchers seeks independent probe. NBA is also speaking out again, decrying persistent disobedience of court orders, says the trend could lead to anarchy if unchecked. Quickly to the nation, disquiet in Senate over 100 billion naira constituency cash. No cause for alarm, says spokesman, why confidence vote suffered setback. Let's check out Daily Sun. Anarchy looms, it reads. NBA Sultan and Sands warn Showore. Still on Showore, Senate 6 probe of the DSS invasion. That's it for Daily Sun. Headed to The Guardian now. Senate Sands 6 probe of alleged DSS invasion. Still, this story keeps reverberating around. Vanguard is towing a slightly different line. It's saying presidency's jibe at US, UK, EU on rights abuses. So groups are speaking out here in Nigeria, NBA, Afenifere, Ohanese, Arewa Youth, others blasting the FG. Senate probes the invasion. NBA speaking out to the pro-DSS protesters, interestingly, storm the National Assembly and says election losers are destabilizing Nigeria. Gentlemen, that's going to be the crux of our discussion at this time now. But is it correct? Let me begin with Mr. Okwade here. Is it correct that Nigeria is indeed sovereign? Doesn't our sovereignty have any limits? Femi Adesina is saying now that the US, the UK, the EU have no rights at all to poke at us for what happened last week. And of course, talking about rights abuses.
Yeah, in as much as we feel that what is going on about the invasion of the court and the abuse of human rights is really not right, the US, the UK, and the other people can just speak to advice. You see, literally, you don't tell a man how he runs his home. You can only advise and guide him on how to go about it. The final decision lies with him, because the plus and minus of whatever goes wrong, he takes responsibility of it. With what is going on, the EU and the UK can only guide, because the people that manage the affair of the country understand the reason why they are doing it. But what we have actually been calling for is that the main reason why DSS are carrying out what they are doing on Showore should be explained to the people. How can you release somebody and under 24 hours you are picking him back and you're not giving us any explanation? We just need an explanation that this is the reason. Once we have it, everybody definitely will remain calm. We've had scenarios where people challenge authority, and when explanation is being given, what people are not seeing behind the screen are made revealed to us. So EU, UK telling us they can only advise. The people that are at the end of affair have the priority to really carry out the action. And that is why Femi Adesina is telling them, thank you very much for advising us, but we'll do. But what we expect from them is to give explanation. This is the major reason why we are doing this. This is the major reason why DSS, because we've heard that DSS went about to apologize. This is why we invaded. This is what we had. These are the security, surveillance that was carried out. And this is the why we are picking him up.
All right.
Not just to keep quiet and feel that everything they've done is right.
Let me compare your analysis now with that of Razak Olokoba. So what do you make of this? Could Nigeria become a pariah as a result of this stance?
Well, to start with, the countries I have mentioned and the Union are powerful institutions, are countries of the world. America, second economy in the world, one of the 5 most populated, one of the 5 with land mass. UK, a renowned colonialist, it colonized Nigeria. So they may want to advise, but it's important to begin to talk to us as equals. That's advice of nations to nations. The US is have a record of denying government officials of countries of the world visas, entry as a punishment for one sort of policies that the government embarked on or the other. So I don't know the reaction of such countries, but for what additional I've said, I think is right to say that if you want to advise us as equals. Don't issue instructions to us. But just like what my colleague here have said, that this wouldn't have been necessary. The Boston saga, Americans willingly deny themselves their right by shutting down Boston for 3 days to get the bomber, the Manhattan bomber. You remember the incident? In London, the protests in London about 3 or 4 years ago, the British government clamped down on the protesters. And the reason for that was explained to the people. The rest of the world rallied around the US and UK for that. Many people will rally around Nigeria if sufficient reasons were offered for what they did. And I'm trying to push argument for court invasion, that if you offer sufficient explanation that the country is at risk, is the reason why you do that. Many Nigerians will understand why you do that. But keeping mute and not offering sufficient explanation, it is a terrain that our DSS should depart from. You can declassify information. The essence of classifying information is the damage it may cause to investigation, the damage it may cause to the operations of the. But if it's not damaging,
I even want the two of you to also address another part. Now, we don't have so much time. We have less than 2 minutes now. But then on the flip side, we are seeing pro-SSS groups now also clamoring support. A line is rather significant, quote and unquote now. Could election losers destabilize the country? Do they have that power?
No, they don't. Why should, if you lose an election, there is a process in line. You go to court and bring out your fact. We can see what happened to this senator, the woman in Ondo State, is Ondo Olujimi. She lost the election, but went to the court, tender a case, and she won the election via court. So if you lose an election, it's not via protest. She didn't protest. All she did was to go to the court of law, gather your facts and your figures, and definitely ask your lawyer to put those things in place, rather than you coming out with protest. Protest is not, because let me tell you, the way we handle protest in this country, because of our poverty level, it's always been hijacked, and there is always loss of life. If it's not on the path of the other party, it will be on our own path.
I will let Mr. Olokoba spend some few seconds now on this issue.
Well, let's leave that to polemics, that whether what Showore did was wrong or right, because I don't, between now and 1999 till date, what Showore has said, I don't see what many of us have not said about that. And that's why I'm saying that it's not about the call for protest that led to the denial of his bill again. There is more to it. And it is important for Nigerians to know, it's not a cost society. We are running a government where people pay taxes, where your salaries are paid to others of services. My own position is that I don't want to condemn the DSS, and I don't want to encourage Showore. People, the two sections that has proved his case right is what the person I'm going to keep behind. And it requires explanation. Showore have had explanation. The DSS must also offer explanation for what they did. And that's the institution that I'm going to keep behind.
Let's go to the newspapers this morning. It says in the News Direct, road crash, 28 persons burned to death in Bauchi, says FRSC. 28 persons burned to death in Bauchi State. The Blueprint says no bad blood between Buhari Osinbajo, says Southwest APC. The Daily Times says here, Showore Senate probes court invasion as body of benches seek independent probe. NBA decries persistent disobedience of court orders, says trend could lead to anarchy if unchecked. The Nation is saying here, disquiet in Senate over 100 billion naira constituency cash. No cause for alarm, says spokesman. Why confidence vote suffered setback. The Daily Sun says anarchy looms. NBA Sultan Sands warn that according to the PNID, because of the PNID scam, Showore Senate seek probe of DSS invasion of courtroom. The Guardian says Senate Sands seek probe of alleged DSS courtroom invasion. Sultan warns government against disregard for verdicts. CSOs hail Buhari, others on prioritization of national security. The Vanguard says NBA, presidency's jibe at US, UK, EU on rights abuses. NBA, Afenifere, Ohaneze, Arewa Youth, others blast federal government. Senate probes alleged DSS invasion of court, rearrest of Shore. NBA, court is a sanctuary that must not be desecrated. Pro-DSS protesters storm the National Assembly, say election losers destabilizing Nigeria. Of course, that's it on the newspapers this morning, so we will stick with the story in the Nation newspaper. It says disquiet in Senate over 100 billion naira constituency cash. No cause for alarm, says spokesman. Why confidence vote suffered setback? I'll read a bit of the story in the Nation newspaper. Of course, it says the alleged lopsided sharing of the 100 billion naira constituency project fund is causing disaffection in the Senate. The fund is meant for projects in senators' constituencies. Now, some of the senators said some of their colleagues were unduly favored in the distribution of the fund. Gentlemen.
It's quite funny. And what do you expect? We've said it over time. The function of the legislative arm is to make laws. And constituency project is duly the project of the executive arm. Executive is to execute projects.
The local government, or the executive in general?
Anyhow you want to look at it. The executive arm is to execute project, and the legislative is just like judiciary asking for constituency project themselves. There are three arms of government which have distinct functions that they are supposed to carry out. Now the 100 billion that is to be allocated among them is already creating a rancor of being favored and not being favored, you know, receiving more than the other. But fine, that is expected, even if they are going to do it, because constituencies differ from one another. One is bigger than the other, and I'm sure that was put. But we have said it that giving constituency projects to the legislative arm, as far as we are concerned, is corruption. Let every senator or House of Rep refer this to the executive arm and follow through to make sure that some of those, because
it's been there for a very long time. You will not say it's stealing.
That has been there does not make it right.
Okay,
well, you see, there are so many aberrations that the Parliament has backed on since 1999 to date. One of which is the constituency project. The second critical that looks in content and character like this is the question of adding to budgets when you are supposed to exhibit prudency, that you can buy this cup for 10 naira. Why did you quote 15 naira? Then you bring it down. But you discovered that our parliament will add 30 naira to the 10 naira and say that no, go and buy 30 naira instead of the 10 naira that the ministries and the agencies have brought. So, and it's time for God's sake, the ninth parliament, am I right?
Yeah.
To begin to correct those aberrations. Now, apart from the salary structure that they have, that all of us are clamoring for, that is unpatriotic, the second important aberration issue that I have to look at is this question of constituency. Is usurpation of the duties and responsibilities of the executive. Now, who is going to perform an oversight function on them if they carry out this constituency project? Because they're supposed to perform an oversight function while the executive are executing the project. They're supposed to monitor to ensure that our 1 naira is well spent on the services that the executive sought to use the money to pursue. So who is going to do that? So we cannot use illegality to correct illegality. The best thing is to do the right thing. Parliament should stay away from executing projects. Let them pass through the normal procedure. If your constituency, which is a normal thing, a universal thing that is known with Parliament all over the world, to clamor for projects, attract projects to your constituency by instructing the specific ministry that is meant for, if it is road, if it is housing program, if it is railway, if it is education, do the normal thing. Pass through the ministries to attract projects to your constituency.
Well, these ministries, a lot of them are overwhelmed with projects from all over the country.
What is overwhelmed? How can you say
I don't
government
understand that
overwhelmed?
But
you employ more people.
Isn't this constituency project to go to the grassroots?
Don't mystify governance.
Okay.
Governance is about people. If you say you want to do 10 roads, and suddenly the road increases to 500 rows. There are a lot of people who are jobless. Employ more people.
Create employment.
There are engineers
for
who don't have a job to do in Nigeria. There are architects.
Rather than give
our senator, are they engineers?
So rather than giving them constituency
so
project,
we have a problem
allowances.
with that. I'm a contractor. I do roads and I do buildings, and I'm always happy when I do a project and I see members of parliament coming to inspect the project that I do. I'm always happy. But on this occasion now, who is going to inspect a project that is carried out? Is it the judiciary or is it the executive? So these are aberrations that they have created this crisis for us. And the Ninth Parliament has tremendous respect and goodwill for Nigeria. They are
let me go to Sheson now. Moving on, how do we correct this anomaly? He's been there for a long time. He has mentioned that the 9th Assembly should be able to correct the anomaly, but a lot of people in the 9th Assembly have been in the 8th Assembly as well. So how do we correct this anomaly?
Number one, if they cannot, we should give it out to the people, which are the electorate. We should kick them out. Kick them out and get fresh people into the parliament that will do things that will, because majority of the so-called constituency project, from the report we have from Sage, they were not executed. And the rate at which they cost some of those projects, when compared to what the executive are doing, is uncomparable. Okay. So, as far as we are concerned, this constituency project should be scrapped. If anybody needs to do anything, they should go through their MDAs or their ministry concerned and follow. In fact, that will be much more better in the sense that you'll be able to put the minister who is in charge of that particular thing that you are requesting for. And that will even give development, rather than them saying that you are favoring one senator or the other based on constituency. I have never seen any of these constituency projects that we talked about, because all what they centered about is empowerment, sharing, keke napep, and all. We don't need some of those things. We need infrastructural development, which is sole responsibility of the executive. And for them, they will be helping us by monitoring them in details for them to execute the project, and we'll be better off for it.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much for talking to us on this development.
It's a pleasure being with you.
All right, you're watching TVC Breakfast, and we're streaming live on YouTube. You can connect with us on Twitter using the hashtag TVC Breakfast.